Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
The new one, you can't
Woohoo.
just add a stereo track. Oh no, no, you have to hit record. And then I hate it when they update software after I memorize like everything.
Right.
I'm just like, my bitch, my good bitch. Why? But I mean, there you go. So, we're not going to do usual introductions, normal bullshitting around, because this is a special episode.
Oh boy.
So we did Halloween, right? We did a
Yes.
special episode for Thanksgiving, just for our little bitches. Um, Party Possums, of course, we're gonna do a special episode for Christmas, Yule, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Um, just for you guys. We're doing the back history.
Yes.
So we both did topics. We're both gonna go today.
I do want to drop a source. It's a book called The Dead of Winter,
Ooh, okay.
by Sarah Clegg, Clegg.
Okay.
Um,
We'll put the Amazon link
yeah.
in the podcast bio like we do.
Um, it's really good. I got a chunk of information from there, and like the way she has it organized,
Oh,
for
I
like
love
the
good
notes and
organization.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it scratched the itch in my brain because it's all um so she has it broken down into the chapters
Love
and
that.
then in the order that they go in.
Oh my god, yes.
So it's so nice. She also includes she also has like footnotes in there which are absolutely hilarious.
Like little messages that she's thinking to herself,
Yeah.
just writing in the margins.
Yes, I love it.
Love that.
So like one she's talking about a long black evening gown, and in the footnote it says velvet 3/4 length sleeve and a neckline my mother wouldn't approve of one bit.
I don't think mothers approve of any necklines that are below chastity length, which is like the neck.
Right.
Show us your ankles. Show us your ankles. Um, so Christmas is renowned for a lot of different holidays. It's not just like there's a ton of holidays. We're only going to go into two
Right.
factions this year, and we'll go into more next year on other things. But today we're doing something that means something to both of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Fluffy
Sorry,
back?
Fluffy's got the zoomies right now. She's just zooming around my room,
She's like zoom, zoom.
in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and I'm like,
You know, it's fine.
can't record with constantly opening shutting.
Well, you know, we are the autism, we are the ADHD, so I mean,
Oh yes,
it's
it's right
fine.
on par.
It's right on par. Um, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? I think you should go first.
um I have 16 pages.
I have nine. Do you want me to go first? I have nine.
Sure.
Okay, so I did something special to me because
Okay.
I love Santa Claus. We've already
Yes.
talked about this on several occasions. I am obsessed. So like my nephew is obsessed with snowmen. When he was little, he couldn't say snowmen, so he said momen. So we have momen plates, we have momen toys, we have little dancing momen statues, and they used to line the hallway at my mom's house. Hello, Fluffy. Senorita Fluffy Bat. Um, and so I'm obsessed with Santa. I've always, in all of my relationships, I've always wanted to take a picture with Santa Claus. My exes hated it. and never wanted me to take pictures. Just making sure, because we did have a little bit of an audio mix-up on the last one. Fuck that shit. Anyways, so I did research on Santa Claus.
Oh boy.
So we already did Krampus. So if you wanted to go...
Santa? I know him!
Santa! We get to watch that.
Sorry,
we get to watch that movie. It's the only movie of Will Ferrell that I actually like. Let's see here. Where is it? I'm looking for the episode number. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Sir, this is Patrick. So we did Krampus on episode... Sasquatch, Halloween History, Hurricane. Let's see here. Ah, here it is. Exorcism by Knife and a Hoofed Yeti Carrying a Bundle of Switches. That episode. It was on October 16th. We did Guilon and Krampus. If you guys haven't seen Red One yet, it is not kid-friendly. There is a lot of swearing and a lot of innuendo. Don't take your kids. We had a row of kids sitting next to us.
Because, oh, it's a Santa movie. It should be fine.
No. Like Bad Santa. Do you know how many kids were sent? I remember when that was all over Facebook. So, Santa is known as St. Nicholas or Kris Kringle. He has a long history steeped in Christmas traditions. Today, his thought of mainly a jolly man in red who brings toys to good girls and boys. But his story stretches all the way back to the 3rd century.
Of course.
So, I only did a little bit of a deep dive on the sainthood of him.
There's so much.
There was literally originally 20 pages, and I had to, like, cut it down. So, right. Santa Claus traces back to Saint Nicholas. He's a Christian bishop that was born around 280 AD in Patera, not Pantera, which is what I thought it was, and I was like, middle. So it's modern day Turkey. Not quite. So Patera is modern day Turkey, and he was known for his piety and his kindness. Not pies. No. He is not 3.1478. Nicholas became the subject of many stories, especially for his secret gift giving, which was a thing for him. One of the famous tall tales of him was saving 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery by providing them dowries, so that way they could marry.
Oh, wow.
His reputation for generosity and miracles earned him the title of Nicholas the Wonder Worker. And he became the patron saint of many, including sailors, children, and merchants. Which is why a lot of people in the Navy have St. Christopher medals. Or
right.
St. Nicholas medals. St. Christopher is the patron saint of travelers. Wrong one. Why do I know so much?
They have those too, but...
Yeah. Why do I know so much? Recovering Catholic. So
deconstructing Catholic.
So after his parents died when he was young, his legacy as a beloved figure grew over time, evolving into the folklore of Saint Christopher, Jesus Christ, Saint Nicholas. My God, Catherine. Also known as Sinterklaas in Dutch tradition, and he is the brother of Krampus. So, a lot of slip-ups in there. I do apologize. I had technically 3 cups of espresso today.
A little bit too much.
Little is known about the historical Saint Nicholas. The earliest accounts of his life were written centuries after his death and probably contained legendary elaborations like most do. He is said to have been born in the Annihilation seaport of Patera, Lyca, in Asia Minor, to a wealthy Christian set of parents. In one of the earliest attested, most famous incidents of his life, he is said to have rescued 3 girls, which we talked about earlier, by dropping a sack of gold coins through the window of their house each night for 3 nights, so their father could pay a dowry for each of them. Other stories include him calming a storm of seas, saving 3 innocent soldiers of wrongful execution, and the chopping down of a tree possessed by a demon. Okay.
Guys, those are nifs.
These are very much myths. In his youth, he is said to have made a pilgrimage to Egypt and Syria, Palestina. Shortly after he returned, he became Bishop of Myra, which it is in the historical facts that he was Bishop of Myra, and he was later cast into a prison during the persecution of Diocletian. Say that 20 times fast. But was released after the ascension of Constantine. We're not talking about Keanu Reeves here, guys. We're talking about the actual ruler of Constantine. Although, hello. My husband knows how much I love that. The early list makes him an attendee for the First Council of Nicaea in 325, but he's never mentioned actually in any of the writings. And I did cross-reference my literature of religion, which I have a lot of books here. Some of them are no longer in print. But, you know, I have my massive bookcase back there. But he was mentioned in a lot of writings by people who were on the council. So he was probably somebody that talked to them, but not somebody who was actually at the Council of Nicaea.
Right.
Later, unsubstantiated legends claim that he was temporarily defrocked and imprisoned during the council for slapping the heretic Arius.
I mean, we love a good slapping of a heretic.
You know, I love it. Not so much for it being, you know, what it was. And yes, I just added that too. Everybody has, we're talking about this for just a second. I have a notepad that has baby names on it. You have a notepad with baby names on it. Everybody has one. If they say they don't, they're lying. Okay.
It's probably pet names instead.
So, another famous late legend talks about how he resurrected 3 children who were murdered and pickled in brine by a butcher planning to sell them as pork during a famine.
Oh, shit.
200 years after his death, the St. Nicholas Church was built in Myra under the orders of Theodosius II over a site of the church where he had served as a bishop, and his remains were moved into a sarcophagus of that church.
Interesting.
In 1087, while the Greek Christian inhabitants of the region were subjugated by the newly Muslim Seljuk Turks, and soon after the beginning of the East-West Schism, a group of merchants from the Italian city of Bari removed the major bones of his skeleton from the sarcophagus in the church without authorization and brought them to their hometown.
Leave the bones alone.
These bones are now enshrined in the Basilica di San Nicolai. The remaining bone fragments from the sarcophagus were later removed by Venetian sailors and taken to Venice during the First Crusade. They're actually like entombed in glass, and they're protected and preserved.
Oh, good.
Which is great, but don't deserve the dead. That's fucking.
They have done enough moving around while they were alive. They just want peace and quiet and rest.
Oh my god, I know. And like, what was that one? Hold on, is it in here? I don't know if I actually wrote it down, but it's that place in London where they just kept burying the dead and burying the dead. I sent you the reel in the group.
The plague pits?
Yes. That's disgusting.
I mean, they had to get rid of the bodies, so I mean.
I know, but still. Let's see here. So, after St. Nick's parents died from an epidemic, Nicholas is said to have distributed their wealth to most of the poor. In his most famous exploit, which is first attested in Michael the Archimandrite's Life of St. Nicholas, Nicholas is heard of a devout man who had once been wealthy but lost all of his money due to the plotting and envy of Satan. The man could not afford dowries for his 3 daughters, and we already talked about that. The father immediately arranged the marriage for his first daughter after a wedding. Nicholas threw a second bag of gold, etc., etc., etc.
Mhm.
Nicholas is often shown in his martyrdom, which is the little plaques or like the little figurines, the statues. That's called a martyrdom statue. He's
Mhm.
often shown wearing a cowl with a little. So, let's see here. He's the 10th line on a list of attendees of the Council of Nicaea, although not founded. Let's see here. According to Jeremy Seal, the fact that Nicholas had a tomb that could be visited serves as the most solitary definitive proof that he was a real historical figure and that it was not based in fiction.
Right.
One of the oldest stories showing Saint Nick as a protector of children takes place long after his death. The townspeople of Myra were celebrating the good saint on the eve of feast day, which is the 25th, when a
Mhm.
band of Arab pirates from Crete came to the district. They stole treasures from the church of St. Nicholas, and they tried to take away everything as booty. As they were leaving the town, they snatched a young boy, Basilios, to make into a slave. The emir, or ruler, selected Basilios to be his personal cupbearer. As not knowing the language, Basilios would not understand that the king said to those around him. So, for the next year, Basilios waited on the king, bringing his wine in a beautiful golden cup. For Basilios' parents, devastated at the loss of their only child, the year passed slowly as they filled their life with grief. As the next St. Nicholas feast day approached, Basilios' mother would not join in the festivity and was now a day of tragedy for their family. She was persuaded to have a simple observance of the home. Where? Somebody just said, "Did you make it home?" Where? I wasn't going anywhere. Um, Not yet, anyways. Um, and for the family, they were giving quiet prayers for the son's safekeeping. As Basilios was fulfilling his tasks, serving the emir, he was suddenly whisked up and away. St. Nicholas appeared to the frightened boy. Mind you, he's already dead. He's already buried in a sarcophagus in the
Right.
ground. So he appeared to the boy, blessed him, and set him down at his home back in Myra. Imagine the joy and the wonderment as Basilius amazingly appeared before his parents, still holding the gold cup.
Oh shit.
This became his primary role in the West. So this was the start of his story in Western culture.
Okay.
So his popularity grew and spread, and after the anniversary of his death, which was December 6th, they considered it a lucky day. So 12-6, right?
Mhm.
So 6 was considered a lucky number at that point.
Right.
So Saint Nick was often concerned as a positive reputation. Concerned, not the right word. Considered,
Observed.
observed, considered and observed. My brain just merged the two together. Um, so after the Reformation, the devotion of Nicholas appeared in all Protestant countries of Europe except Holland. His legend persisted as Sinterklaas, a Dutch variant of the name of Saint Nicholas. Mm,
Well, I mean, especially because like he's traveling a lot, so he would get kind of ashy. So cinder.
right. God, people are weird. So,
Yes, they are.
the resulting image of Santa Claus in the United States crystallized in the 19th century, which was the 1800s, up
Mhm.
to the early 1900s, and ever since has remained the patron saint of the gift-giving festival, which has become Christmas. Under the guises, Saint Nick was transformed into a benevolent gift-giving feature in the Netherlands, Belgium, and other European countries. In the United Kingdom, though, Santa Claus is known as Father Christmas.
Yes.
In other cultures like Sweden and Norway and Germany, it's Odin. Like, still
Yeah.
Father Christmas, but it's stories of Odin. So, let's see here. Go ding, ding, ding. So Saint Mick made his first intro into American pop culture towards the end of the 18th century, so 1773. And again in 1774, a New York newspaper reported that groups of Dutch family had gathered to honor the anniversary of his death. So in 1809, Washington Irving helped popularize the Santa Claus story, as he referred to St. Nicholas as the patron saint of New York in his book, The History of New York. As his prominence grew, Santa Claus became described as everything from a rascal with a blue three-cornered hat, red waistcoat, and yellow stockings, to a man with a broad-brimmed hat and a huge pair of Flemish trunks hose. I had to look that up.
Interesting.
It's like lederhosen.
Ah.
So, gift giving, mainly centralized around children, has been an important part of Christmas celebrations since holidays' rejuvenation in the 19th century. In 1841, thousands of children visited a Philadelphia shop to see a life-size Santa Claus model. It was only a matter of time before the stores began to attract children and their parents with a lure to peek at the live Santa Claus. My God, trees are fucking. In the early 1890s, the Salvation Army needed money to pay for the free Christmas meals they provided to needy families. They began to dress up unemployed men in Santa Claus suits, which are the red suits with the belt, and sending them into the streets of New York to solicit donations. Those familiar Salvation Army Santas have been ringing bells on street corners and American cities ever since the 1840s or 1890s. Perhaps the most iconic store Santa is Kris Kringle in the 1947 classic Santa Claus movie, Miracle on 34th Street.
I was just thinking about that.
Great movie. Not the movie I watch every year, but great movie. Perhaps the most, the other iconic one is the Macy's Santa, who has appeared in every Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade since it began in 1924. In 1822, Clement Clark Moore, an Episcopal minister, wrote a long Christmas poem for his three daughters entitled An Account of a Visit from Santa Claus, or St. Nicholas, more popularly known as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. So he initially was very hesitant to publish it, and he didn't want to because it was considered Santa Claus as a right jolly old elf, a portly figure, and a supernatural ability to ascend a chimney with a mere nod of his head. In 1881, political cartoonist Thomas Nash drew on Moore's poem to create the first likeness that matches our modern image of Santa Claus. His cartoon, which appeared in Harper's Weekly, depicted Santa as a rotund, cheerful man with a full white beard holding a sack laden with toys for lucky children. It was Nash who gave Santa his bright red suit, trimmed with white fur, North Pole Workshop, elves, and his wife, Mrs. Claus.
Makes
So,
sense.
yeah. So Santa Claus was not only St. Nicholas-inspired gift giver to make an appearance at Christmas time, there are also similar figures across traditions. Christkind or Kris Kringle deliver presents to well-behaved Swiss and German children. They have the altar, which is Krampus, on the earlier episode.
There's actually a lot more altars or partners that Sarah Clegg covers in her book.
Oh yeah, and there's a huge cult, it's like a cult-like phenomenon that people don't know about the counterparts to quote-unquote Santa Claus, because there are, it's like the good versus the bad. It's the yin and the yang. There's also in Scandinavia a jolly elf named Joltenmitten, who is thought to deliver gifts on a sleigh drawn by goats.
Yes.
English legend explains that Father Christmas visits each home on Christmas Eve to fill children's stockings. Père Noël is for French children. And in Italy, there's a woman called La Befana, who rides a broomstick down chimneys. This is what I was told as a kid.
And she's the Witch of Christmas.
She's the Witch of Christmas. So my grandfather used to call me La Bruquita after La
Mhm.
Bafana. Now I understand why. After doing all the research I did, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. It's the nose.
Just a bit.
It's the nose. So Santa Claus is depicted in the United States as flying from home to home on Christmas Eve with a sleigh and reindeer. It has been told in the poem Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen, with the most famous being Rudolph.
Right.
So, Santa Claus and his wife call North Pole home. Children often leave cookies and milk and carrots for reindeer. Santa keeps a naughty list and a nice list to determine who gets what presents. Um, So in 1902, Frank Baum, who wrote Wizard of Oz, wrote a book called The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. In it, a team of 10 reindeer are listed. They have rhyming names in pairs: Glossy and Glossy, Racer and Pacer, Fearless and Peerless, Ready and Steady, Feckless and Speckless. In different books, TV shows, and films, the reindeers have been renamed. So
Right.
after eons, they ended up getting their current names, which is what I said earlier. So Montgomery Ward ended up selling over 500,000 copies of The Night Before Christmas in 1939, and then it was reissued and republished in 1946. And at that point, it sold over 3.5 million copies.
There's also a little um I don't want to say parodies of them, but there's like different versions, like there's a Cajun Christmas and um like just like different like technically parodies of the book.
Right. I mean, it is a parody, like, because I know which ones you're talking about. They're considered parodies. Um, in most European countries, gifts are exchanged on Christmas Eve, December 24th, in
Hmm.
keeping with notation that baby Jesus was born on the night of the 24th. And I put in big caps, "This is not true. He was
No.
born in July." And I mean, that's the historical notes, but I can go on a freaking tangent for that. So, um,
Note for another day.
let's just keep that in our pocket. Just so the morning of December 25th, however, has become the time to exchange gifts in North America. Um, we spread With the spread of Christianity beyond Europe and North America, the celebration of Christmas was transferred to societies through the non-Western world. So in many of these countries, Christians are not the majority of the population, and therefore the religious holiday has not become a cultural holiday. It's just based in certain religious customs.
Right.
So, in South and Central America, unique religious and secular traditions mark the Christmas celebration. In Mexico, on days leading up to Christmas, the search of Mary and Joseph for a place to stay is reenacted, and children try to break piñatas filled with toys and candy, which is true. I've seen pictures of my cousins on Facebook. It's kind of cool. Christmas is a great summer festival in Brazil because below the equator, that's during their summer months,
Right.
including picnics, fireworks, and other festivities, as well as a solemn procession of priests to the church to celebrate midnight mass.
Oh.
In some parts of India, the evergreen Christmas tree is replaced by the mango tree or the bamboo tree, and houses are decorated with mango leaves and paper stars.
Okay.
So Christmas is largely still a Christian tradition, even though it was stolen. And Japan serves as an illustration of a different sort of celebration. In Shinto and Buddhist countries, secular aspects of the holidays, the Christmas tree and decorations, even the singing Christmas songs, are widely observed instead of the religious aspects.
Interesting.
So, as far as Saint Nick goes, he's definitely been known and been seen as one of the prime real estates of the celebration of Christmas as a whole.
Right.
I did not go down a rabbit hole of media because that was where I cut all my 10 pages.
We could literally just go on subject just on everything
I
without
did
saying it.
I did want to make note my 3 favorite Christmas movies.
Of course.
My top favorite is White Christmas. Whenever I get really, really depressed or sad, that is my feel-good movie. That is the one movie that I can put on and I immediately am in a better mood. I don't know what it is about that movie. I think it was because my mom always put it on, and it was the one time where she was able to actually spend time with us as a family because
Right.
she worked so much, you know? And then the other one, everybody does not think this, and if you do not think this, we can't be friends. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. This is a
I
hill
mean,
that
because they're doing Christmas stuff, so
it is a Christmas movie, guys. Even though it's like bombs and explosions and everything like that, it is still a Christmas movie for me. Last but not least is Elf. I do not like Will Ferrell. You know I don't like him.
right.
But it's not because he's a bad actor. It's not that. It's his voice. I find it very grating. And I don't
Yeah, I can see that.
yeah. He's a great actor. I just can't get past that, if that makes sense.
No, I get it.
Okay. But those are do you have any favorite holiday movies?
Um, White Christmas. The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Okay, that's funny.
Let the lamp, not the rat. Let the lamp, not the rat.
God, I forgot about that movie. It's been ages since I watched it. Do you
That's
watch
all I can think of right now.
do you watch the Muppet Christmas Carol every holiday? Like every Christmas?
Now that it's on Disney Plus, yes.
Okay. I yeah.
And sometimes I watch it just because I need some Gonzo and Rizzo in my life.
Let me tell you, Rizzo was fun as
They're
hell.
the chef's kiss of
Piece de resistance.
yes.
I love the Swedish Chef.
Oh yes.
I dressed up
And
as him
Beaker.
twice. Yes, I dressed up as him twice for Halloween. It was just too funny not
Too
to.
good.
Yes. Um, and you did something special for you for Christmas.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm covering Yule.
Fuck yeah, I celebrate Yule.
I've started celebrating it. But in doing the research, I realized that a lot of the traditions that my family's done is tied into Yule.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. I was like, oh, that's why we do this, or that's why we do that.
I love happy accidents. I love that. Happy little
Me too.
accidents. Happy little trees. So what do we got going for Yule?
So it is a winter festival historically observed by Germanic peoples that were incorporated into Christmas during the Christianization of the Germanic peoples
Yep.
because colonizing.
Cause colonizers.
So, in present times, some versions of the new religious movements, like modern Germanic paganism, still celebrate Yule independently of the Christian festival. Scholars have connected the original celebrations of Yule to the wild hunt, the god Odin, and the heathen Anglo Saxon Modrant or Mother's Night.
Yes.
So, the term Yule and cognates are still used in English and Scandinavian languages, as well as Finnish and Estonian, to describe Christmas and other festivals occurring during the winter holiday season.
Hell yeah.
So, some present day Christmas customs and traditions are the Yule log,
Mm-hmm.
Yule goat, Yule boar, Yule singing, and others may have connections to older pagan Yule traditions.
All right. That's cool. By the way, if anybody
So,
wants it to get a Yule goat, you can get it at IKEA for $19.99.
I mean, it makes sense.
We have one. It's in our living room. It's just there.
It just hangs out year round.
Just hangs out year round.
So the Old English Yule, which is what the modern English noun Yule descends from, indicates the 12-day festival of Yule, which was later Christmastide.
Mm-hmm.
The latter indicating the month of Yule, whereby Era Giola refer to the period before the Yule festival, which is December.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the after Yule, which refers to the period after Yule, which is January. Not going to try to pronounce all those words.
Because we're respectful.
And I will be horrendous with it. Whether the term exists outside of the Germanic languages remains uncertain, although numerous speculative attempts have been made to find Indo-European cognates outside the Germanic group.
Okay.
The compound noun Yuletide, which is also known as Yule time, is first attested from around 1475.
Damn.
Yes. So the word is conjectured in an explicitly pre-Christian context, primarily in Old Norse, where it is associated with Old Norse deities. Among many others, the god Odin bears the name Yulner, which is the Yule one. In Agrip, composed in the 12th century, Jol is interpreted as coming from one of Odin's names, Jolnir, closely related to the Old Norse Jolnar, a poetic name for the gods.
There you
In
go.
Old Norse poetry, the word is found as a term for feast.
Okay. Did not know that.
It has also been thought that the Old French jolif, to modern day French jolie, was borrowed into English in the 14th century as jolly.
I just keep remembering. Oui, oui. Titi. I'm sorry, guys.
We're a little chaotic today.
A little?
A little more than normal.
A little
okay?
more than normal, yeah. I switched my coffee to Puerto Rican espresso, so.
And it's stronger.
Oh, God, yeah.
And she had 3 cups.
Technically, yeah.
Well, what have we learned today?
One is sufficient. I got an anniversary cup for our anniversary. My big cup is 2 medium-sized cups. So I did 2 of those, which is essentially 3 cups of espresso. So it was like,
right.
I will be fine. No, ma'am. This is a lot stronger than my Bustelo.
Well, we've learned a lesson. We live and learn.
Buy more.
Buy more, but drink less. Drink less daily.
I'm gonna die.
So the Germanic paganism. So Yule is attested early in the history of the Germanic peoples. In a Gothic language calendar of the 5th to 6th century CE, it appeared in the month name Fruma Julius. And in the 8th century, the English historian Bede wrote that the Anglo-Saxon calendar included the months Giola or Giuli, corresponding to either modern December or December in January.
Okay.
So there are 2 books, or in the, I don't remember quite where I pulled this from, but basically two resources provide accounts of the custom of hitstrenaging.
Bless you.
Yeah. In these sources, the tradition takes place on Yule evening and consists of people placing their hands on a pig referred to as the sonagultor before swearing solemn oaths.
On a pig?
On a pig.
Oink oink.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
In the latter text, some manuscripts explicitly refer to the pig as holy, that it was devoted to Freyr, and that after the oath swearing it was sacrificed.
Okay. All right. I've been to 2 pig sacrifices. They're very graphic.
Messy.
Mm-hmm.
And probably noisy because pigs are very noisy creatures.
Yes and no. In the more modern ones that I've gone to, they've off topic. I went to a it was a voodoo thing, and they gave it a paralytic,
Oh, good.
so it didn't suffer. And I was like, that's kind of nice. Like and they were like, well, we
No
have to,
screaming.
right? We have to be able to give the same love that we give to life to death. And I was like, I
I like that.
respect you, man. Like, you scare and terrify me, but I respect you, man.
Right.
Anyways, off topic. Sorry.
So there's a saga of Hakon the Good, which credits King Hakon I of Norway, who ruled from 934 to 961 with the Christianization of Norway,
Oh.
as well as rescheduling Yule to coincide with Christian celebrations held at the time. So it's his fault.
Yep. We blame him.
The saga says that when he arrived in Norway, he was a confirmed Christian, but since the land was still altogether heathen and the people retained their pagan practices, he hid his Christianity to receive the help of the great chieftains of the time. In time, he had a law passed establishing that Yule celebrations were to take place at the same time as the Christians celebrated Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, everyone who was to have ale for the celebration with a measure of grain or else pay fines, and had to keep the holiday while the ale lasted.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Were they afraid that the wine would turn into vinegar or something?
I don't know.
That's weird. Okay, whatever. Weirdos.
So he had planned that when he had solidly established himself and held power over the whole country, and then would have the gospel preached, which means that convert or else, convert or else, convert or else.
Little red cookbook, it is.
The result was that his popularity caused many to allow themselves to be baptized. Yeah, because they were scared shitless.
Right.
And some people stopped making sacrifices. He spent most of this time in Trondheim. And when he believed that he wielded... Shit. Sorry. My page scrolled down on me.
You're fine.
Where'd I go? Oh, there we are. When he believed he wielded enough power, he then requested a bishop and other priests from England, and they came to Norway.
No!
England! Well, why not Italy? I don't know.
Right. Like, go to the Vatican.
Upon their arrival, he made it known that he would have the gospel preached in the whole country. The saga continues, describing the different reactions of various regional things, along with a description of heathen Yule practices.
Right.
The narrative continues that toasts were to be drunk. The first toast was to be drunk to Odin for victory and power to the king. Second to the gods, Nooi and Freya for good harvest and for peace. And I know I did not pronounce the name right.
Go back. How do you spell it?
Here, I send it to you.
Okay, let me see.
Copy. Paste. It sounded a little
Nolger.
Norder. Okay. I'm like, I know I did not pronounce that right. I'm trying.
So close. You were so close. You were really good. Really good.
So for them, for good harvest and for peace. And third, a beaker was to be drunk to the king himself. In addition, toasts were to be drunk to the memory of the departed kinsfolk, and these were called minne, Minni.
Minai.
Minni. I like my one. Minne.
Minai.
Minne.
It's the other phone moose. The other white meat.
Pretty sure it's red meat.
I'm dying. I'm sorry.
So scholar Rudolf Simek said that the pagan Yule feast had a pronounced religious character and that it is uncertain whether Germanic Yule feasts still had a function in the cult of the dead and in the veneration of the ancestors, a function which the midwinter sacrifice certainly held for the Western European Stone and Bronze Ages.
Mm-hmm.
He also said that the traditions of the log, goat, boar, singing, and others possibly have connections to pre-Christian Yule customs, which indicates the significance of the feast in pre-Christian times.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So the date of observation, the exact dating of pre-Christian Yule is unclear and debated among scholars. One described how the 3-day feast began on midwinter night. However, this is distinct from the winter solstice occurring approximately 1 month later. Another proposed that Yule was celebrated on the full moon of the second Yule month in early Germanic calendar, which is the month that started on the first new moon after the winter solstice, which could range from the 5th of January to the 2nd of February in the Gregorian calendar.
Yep.
He also positions the midwinter nights from the 19th to the 21st of January in the Gregorian calendar, falling roughly in the middle of Nordberg's range of Yule dates. Excuse me.
You're good.
In addition to the first scholar's account, Nordberg's dating is consistent with the account of the Great Blot at Legier by Thetamar of Merseburg. So, contemporary traditions.
The magic delicious.
So, I kind of did that. I did this a couple weeks ago, guys. Give me
Hey, totally fine because I did my Saint Nick one like what, a month ago?
Right.
I think you're fine. You're good, babe.
All right. So, as contemporary pagan religions differ in both origin and practice, these representations of Yule can vary considerably despite the shared name. Some people, for example, celebrate in a way as close as possible to how they believed the ancient Germanic pagans observed the tradition, while others observe the holiday with rituals assembled from different sources. Celebrations of Yule can also include sharing a meal and gift giving.
Mm-hmm.
In most forms of Wicca, this holiday is celebrated at the winter solstice as the birth of the great horned hunter god, who is viewed as the newborn solstice sun. The method of gathering for this Sabbat varies by practitioner. Some have private ceremonies at home, while others do so with their covens. Like at Stonehenge, they always meet.
Right.
Some members of the Church of Satan and other Levian satanic groups celebrate Yule at the same time as the Christian holiday in the secular manner.
Okay.
And then I listed some other little things. Disablat is an event attested from Old Norse sources as having occurred among the pagan Norse. Julebord, the modern Scandinavian Christmas feast.
Mm-hmm.
Koliada is a Slavic winter festival. Lahori is a Punjabi winter solstice festival. Saturnalia is an ancient Roman winter festival in honor of the deity Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
A Yule-night is an Iranian festival celebrated on the longest and darkest night of the year. And Nordokhan, the birth of the sun, is an ancient Turkic festival that celebrates the winter solstice. All right.
The more you know. Shooting star.
All right. So the breakdown of the 12 nights of Yule. So we have the first night, which is Mother's Night.
Mm-hmm.
So on the eve of the winter solstice, candles are lit to honor the women that came before us. The official beginning to Yule celebrations, Mother's Night, is a day to offer thanks to our female ancestors and tell their stories. It's believed that they watch over our families and help us in times of need. And to celebrate this night, many people bake cookies. It can be from a treasured family recipe or a favorite biscuit from the region your female ancestors are from. By giving thanks to our female ancestors on this night, we do so. We do so with the ambrosia felt doll of Mother Earth and a lit candle in the background. This night marks the start of the 12 days of Yuletide. So the second night is the winter solstice.
Yeah.
It's Festival of Light, usually falling on the 21st of December, marking the beginning of the astronomical winter. Obviously, the sun has reached the lowest point in the sky. For a few brief days, day length appears to pause. And I just want to say, guys, this time change has been so fucking awful. It's been the worst time change I've ever dealt with.
I have to agree.
Fucking 33 years.
Oh my God. I have not been able to go to bed. And you know me, I pumpkin out at like what, 9,
right?
10?
And I'm having to tell you to go to bed and you're still messaging me at like midnight, 1 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God.
I'm trying here, okay?
I know.
I'm trying. It's difficult, okay?
I know.
So hard.
So, for a few brief days, day length appears to pause. This is a significant time in the calendar for many cultures, celebrating rebirth and the slow return of the light as the wheel of the year turns. Winter solstice or Yule celebrations date back millennia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a long, ongoing thing. So, many modern traditions have their roots in Celtic and Druid customs, which is how I found out how much my family actually did. And I was like, oh.
Which I think is so cool.
Right? And so like, and a lot of like even the American traditions for Christmas are tied into Yuletide traditions, and you don't realize it. So decorating our homes with evergreen plants like holly, ivy, mistletoe, burning Yule logs, or even, putting that log burning on the TV or on a screen, making wreaths, all have their roots in the winter solstice celebrations. So a Yule log is traditionally burned in the hearth for 12 days over the winter solstice. So they get a very big log that usually has been seasoned well, and it burns they just keep it burning. This was to encourage the sun to move and to bring back the warmer, longer days. And a small piece of the charred wood be kept back to start the fire for the following year, which is kind of cool. All right, so
it is super cool. Sorry, I have myself muted. Hubby is unloading the dishwasher, and I know he's trying to be quiet, right. So I'm like,
and it's when you're trying to be quiet is when you're the loudest.
Yes, but it's okay. I love my husband. He is an amazing man.
Yes. So day 3 is mistletoe. The tradition of bringing evergreen plants into the home is stemmed from the ancient Druids. They looked to all things that bring life and light into the dark winter months, including ivy, holly, pine, and mistletoe.
Which, did you know that holly and mistletoe are poisonous?
Yes.
Oh, well.
Especially to pets.
Yes.
And so are poinsettias.
Yes. Do not put your
So
poinsettias on the fireplace. If you have pets or small children, they will try to eat them.
So are lilies, guys. Lilies are poisonous too.
Yes, they are. God, I hate people that do that.
So mistletoe is a hemiparasitic plant which grows in the branches of a host tree. The slow-growing plant is often found in old apple orchards, and the mistle thrush feasts on the berries and spreads the seeds from tree to tree.
So it's like it's like an infestation?
Yeah,
That's
it's like Spanish moss.
disgusting. I love it.
So these days, obviously, mistletoe is like, oh god, you have to kiss under the mistletoe, which is fucking bullshit. With the promise of love, that's why they do it.
No, you have to eat grapes under a table.
I would have heard that one.
So it's Italian, Mexican, French, Greek, like a bunch of different customs. And my friends were just like, why are you sitting under the table? I think it was 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm only going to do, dating apps for friends at this point because I don't think I'll ever find somebody like this. And I ate grapes the year before him and I met up again. I ate grapes under the table in Emily's freaking kitchen. And Raven just looks at me and goes, what are you doing? And I was like, do not come down here and do not eat my grapes. But it worked.
3 years later, you are married.
Yes.
So mistletoe also holds some symbolicism for fertility, for luck, for peace, and for strength. Maybe you should hang some around your house.
Right. I mean, like, I have dried mistletoe that I put in, like, strengthening spells and stuff like that, but it's, like, sealed, and I have to use gloves and everything like that because all it takes is one time for you to do something special like me. I always have an eye itch, so.
Right.
I glove up, man.
When hung in the doorway, it said it will ward off evil spirits and offer protection from lightning.
Okay, cool.
So the fourth day, or the fourth night of Yuletide, is the Deer Mother. And so this has a story that goes with it.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Story time with Rich and Cat.
Story time with Rich and Cat. So we're going to talk about some stories.
Yay!
So
we love story time.
Story time with Rach and Cat.
So across the frozen lands of Northern Europe comes the folk tale of the Deer Mother. The Sami people of northern Scandinavia have honored and revered reindeer for centuries. Their lives are intertwined and dependent on following the great herds because food source and everything else. The oldest matriarch reindeer leads the herd, and only the females retain their antlers over winter. Side note, guys, Santa's reindeer are female because they all have their horns.
Yep.
In ancient Britain, the Deer Mother was also known as Ellen of the Ways. So her story goes, a wooden reindeer carries the sun, basically synopsis, carries the sun in her antlers back to the northern lands. So, in a clearing in the vast frozen forest, all the animals from the biggest bear to the smallest mouse huddled together for warmth, the ice driving them from their winter slumber. The giant bear declared that the sun needed to be brought back to the northern lands from the south, and all the animals would perish from the cold, which makes sense.
Sounds about right.
This would take huge strength and courage. Only the reindeer mother stepped forward to take on this challenge. She was used to traveling vast distances and, with her branching antlers, could safely bring the sun back from the south. So she set off through the forest and came across an old man as ancient as the woods in a cloak of evergreens carrying a large sack. He could see that she was tired and her journey was long. Reaching into his sack, he brought out a mushroom with a red cap and white spots, prized by the reindeers. She ate the mushroom and went on her way, faster and faster, until her feet left the snow and she was flying through the night sky. The dear mother found the sun goddess in the southern lands, too exhausted to travel. Lowering her head, the reindeer invited the goddess to travel with her back to the northern lands where she was so desperately needed. The sun goddess climbed up into the dear mother's antlers, and away they flew to the north, bringing light and warmth back to the frozen lands.
Oh, that's nice.
Of course, there are many, variations of the ancient tale, which forms part of winter solstice celebrations in Northern Europe. And of course, it's a tale of courage, hope, and a touch of magic.
Like that.
Fifth day is Santa.
Santa!
So Kat already touched, on him earlier. But before Saint Nick, the ancestral people of the Arctic celebrated the winter solstice with the help of the sacred mushroom Amanita muscari, or the fly agaric, which is a favorite food of the reindeer. They grow in a symbolic relationship with the birch and pine trees.
That's
Some
cool.
legends say their properties allow shamans to travel to the spirit world and returning back with gifts on the backs of flying reindeer.
Hell yeah. That sounds metal as
the
fuck.
The red and white capped mushrooms were collected and dried on branches of evergreen trees, much like our modern Christmas trees, and were given as gifts. So I noticed some similarities with the whole reindeers flying and the red and white outfits, and
Yep.
with the 4th and 5th days. 6th day is the Christmas tree.
Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, how fucky are your branches?
It's true.
It's true.
So, bringing evergreens into the home has long been a part of the traditions, symbolizing the renewal of life. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until the Victoria era that whole trees were brought into the homes.
Typically, they used to bring like the wreaths or the boughs. It wasn't just
a whole fucking tree. Prior to this in Eastern Europe, a large fir branch or top was suspended from the ceiling above the table and decorated with dates, apples, and paper flowers. Mm-hmm. The Queen Victoria and Prince Albert had to be all fancy and create fucking fire hazards by taking a fucking tree into the house and putting live candles on it.
Listen, they weren't they were scraping the bottom of the barrel at that point. They weren't the smartest.
Well, no, it was after them is when they were really scraping the bottom of the
barrel. Right.
Because she was known as the grandmother of Europe.
Yeah.
Because that's when hemophilia came into play.
Yay! Blood diseases!
Right. I mean, because they had just gotten rid of the Habsburg chin, so I mean...
Listen, there are still some people who do have that disorder to this day.
Know.
It sucks.
It really does.
But there are surgeries to fix it if that is a problem that you need fixed.
Yes. So the legend of the Christmas spider is associated with the folklore of...
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Go back. Oh, what?
Of the Christmas spider.
No, you keep that shit. There is a Christmas spider. Ben. There is a story, a legend of a Christmas spider. No, not cool. What? The two of you. No.
So it's the folklore of Western Ukraine and Germany. The tale offers a hint at the origins of tinsel.
No. I know where.
According
No.
to legend, a hardworking widow and her children couldn't afford decorations for the Christmas tree. However, on Christmas Eve, while the children slept, a spider spun webs around its branches. When the children awoke on Christmas morning, they opened the curtains, and the first rays of sunlight turned the webs into strands of silver and gold. And it's been believed in many parts of Europe, if you find a spider web in your home at Christmas, it's a sign of good luck.
I mean, I knew about that. They have it in Italian culture and German culture as well. But no, thank you. Because
You don't want a Christmas spider?
no.
I mean, it could be worse. You have to be really careful when you get live Christmas trees, guys, because inspect the branches, because you could wake up one day and have praying mantis babies all in your house.
Or you could be like me and find wolf spiders all over your house, which was what happened when I lived in Santa Rosa. When I had my landlord brought me a live tree, being nice, and set it up in my living room. And I have a weird thing of keeping it outside during the hottest
You keep it out.
days. Yeah.
You keep it outside for a couple of days, so that way whatever's in it can go away. And then, well, especially because my family, we used to go to a cut Christmas tree farm.
Oh no.
And one year we woke up and cats were enjoying themselves playing with baby praying mantises, and they were everywhere.
I remember you telling me about that story. I was like, what?
There was a lady in town that went and got a Christmas tree from a Christmas tree farm, and not one that was pre-cut, and had a I don't remember if it was a raccoon or if it was a possum in the tree.
Stop!
No!
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a possum in a tree.
And then there was the year that somebody picked out, the doctor's sister picked out this tree. It looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Mom and Dad had a minivan at that time. It was, so how in National Lampoon's
I've never seen it.
Christmas Vacation?
Never seen it.
Yeah. Anyway, so they have a station wagon, and they go out and they pick out this huge ass tree, and they stick it on it. It literally just kind of looks like a tree on wheels. That was the van on the way home.
Stop!
It was so big, it couldn't go through the baler.
Oh my god.
It was so huge. Thankfully, at the time, we had like 20 plus foot ceilings.
Oh, thank goodness for that, man. Sheesh.
But it was a pain in the ass getting into the house. After that, Mom and Dad said that somebody wasn't allowed to pick out the Christmas tree. Yet every year after that, she happened to still pick out the Christmas tree.
They were like, no more for you. And she's like, what? Why not?
It just was never that big again. And so I kind of tease her about it. So day 7 of Yuletide is La Befana.
La Befana.
Yes. So she apparently travels the skies on her broom looking for the baby Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is derived from the Greek word for epiphany. Mm-hmm. And stopping at each house, she flies down the chimney to leave gifts for the children, including a lump of coal. And being a good housekeeper, she will sweep the floor with her broomstick before she leaves, sweeping away the problems of the year.
Thank you, La Befana. We appreciate you.
Great. Thanks for the little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
So day 8 is singing to the trees.
Like, actually singing to the trees?
Yes.
Okay.
In medieval times, livelihoods depended on the orchards and the lands producing a plentiful harvest. So at Yuletide, the community would go down to the orchards dressed in bright colors and decorated with ribbons and feathers. They would carry a large bowl of hot spiced drink called wassail.
What's that?
Amongst the fruit trees, they would sing songs, perform plays, and sprinkle the hot drink onto the roots and branches. The songs were said to wake the spirit of the trees and ward off evil spirits that could harm the harvest. This ritual still occurs today, often on the 12th night in the fruit growing counties of England.
Oh.
Ninth day is Mary Lwyd.
Mary Lwyd.
I have more on her further down, and I will
go back.
that is
circle back.
That's the whole thing. So the 10th day is elves.
All right.
So in Scandinavia, elves are traditionally known as tomtins.
Okay.
The Swedish fairy folk are believed to be the spirit of the home, and they offer company and protection over the long, dark winter months. But they respond to any bad behavior by causing their own mischief.
As you do.
Makes me wonder if that's what George is.
He might be. You know, you never know.
Right. On Christmas Eve, it is the tomtins who bring Yuletide gifts to the children, and in return, they get some butter for their porridge.
Okay.
So the 11th day is Hygge, Hygge.
Sounds close enough to me. If we butcher it, we're sorry.
It is a Scandinavian concept that's notoriously difficult to define. In essence, it's a feeling of coziness and comfort in simple everyday living. It is thought to have its roots in a similar word in Old Norse meaning protect from the outside world. Midwinter is the perfect time to embrace it, to gather with friends, family, and embrace the simple things in life. Share food together, enjoy hot chocolate, family board game or card games, light some candles, read a book with your favorite blanket. These are all considered to be hygge. So yeah, get comfy, guys.
Well, for the longest time, me and my cousin exchanged books on a couple of days before Christmas Eve, and then on Christmas Eve, we would actually sit down and talk about our books, and we're doing that again this year, except with Kindle Unlimited.
Right.
Which is
because it's a little easier.
Yes.
So on the 12th night, which is the last night, you have Hogmanay!
Hogmanay! Which Terry Pratchett did do a movie about Hogmanay. Hog's Night. Yep.
So obviously it's close to the year, the final hurrah last night. It is a traditional New Year's celebration in Scotland. Folks would work through Christmas in favor of celebrating Hogmanay. Basically, this festival included fireballs, torches, fireworks, and ringing the bells to help clear out the old and ring in the new.
Beautiful. Love that.
And that is the 12 days. But I have some creatures.
Creatures! Yes.
We have the Yule cat.
A Yule cat?
Yes, it's also known as the Christmas cat. It is a huge and vicious cat from Icelandic Christmas folklore that lurks in the snowy countryside during the Christmas season and eats people who don't receive new clothing before Christmas Eve. Not just not receive new clothing, but not receive it and wear it.
That's terrible. I hate it. Thanks.
In some versions, the cat just eats the food of the people without the new clothes.
Okay. Still terrible. I still hate it.
Right.
Thanks.
So the creature is closely associated with other figures from folklore and considered to be the pet of the ogress Gryla and her sons, the Yule lads. Which there are a lot of.
Yes. I think there's like 30 sons. I want to say maybe
13.
13.
There's 13.
I knew it had a 3 in it.
You're like, it's there somewhere.
There's somewhere.
So the first definitive mention of the Yule Cat is in 1862 in a collection of folklore by John Arneson. And it was described as an evil beast that would either eat people who didn't get new clothing for Crimmy or eat their Christmas bits, which was an extra portion of food that was given to the residents of a farm.
Yeah.
Two theories have been proposed for the origin. One is a folklorist points to a footnote by John, the previous mentioned person, which uses the figure of speech to dress the cat. From this footnote and lack of any written sources about the cat prior to his writings, the folklorist concluded that the phrase was the source that he created the creature.
Okay.
However, archaeologist Ulfson connected the cat to various entities which in other European traditions accompany Saint Nick. Ulfson noted that sources for any kind of folklore and history were typically scarce, so the lack of written sources did not carry much significance because it was all oral history. However, the cat was traditionally used as a threat and incentives for farm workers to finish processing the wool collected in the autumn. Those that took part in the work were rewarded with new clothes, but those that did not would get nothing, which would then be prey for the cat.
Right.
So in order to establish the cat being part of the Icelandic folklore, in 1932, Johannes Koltholm established his poetry collection called Christmas is Coming.
Santa!
One poem, which was called The Christmas Cat, centered on the eponymous man-eating monster, which subsequently became a common part of Crimmy festivities, and decorations in Iceland.
That is terrifying.
While the poem itself did not associate with Grilla, her husband Lepolu, or the Yule lads, they were featured in the whole collection, which is this commonality led to connections in later stories.
Right.
By the mid-20th century, the poem "The Christmas Cat" was considered the pet of the ogress and her sons, and in some later sources, it is so disobedient that only the smallest Yule lad is able to direct it, and he rides the cat across the countryside.
That I've seen the stories of, and it's funny as hell.
Yes. So in 2018, the city of Reykjavik set up a 5-meter, which is 16 feet tall, iron sculpt of the Yule Cat as a Christmas decoration in the city's central square.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, I had to take a moment.
You're good.
So, of course, Icelandic Christmas folklore also depicts mountain-dwelling characters and monsters who come to town during Christmas. The stories are directed at children who are used to scare them into good behavior because, of course, terrifying the children.
Yes.
The folklore includes mischievous pranksters who leave gifts at night and monsters who eat disobedient children. The figures are depicted as living... so basically they're all supposedly living together as a family in a cave and include Grilla, who's an ogress with an appetite for the flesh of mischievous children who she cooks in a large pot.
Oh my god, I thought Krampus was bad. Jesus Christ.
Her husband, Lepolu, is lazy and mostly stays at home in their cave because of course. Then you have the Yule Cat, who's huge and vicious cat who looks around, snowy countryside, and eats people. And then you have the Yule lads, who are the sons of Grella and her husband. They are a group of 13 mischievous pranksters who steal from or harass the population and all have descriptive names that convey their favorite way of harassing.
What the fuck?
I'll get to those in a minute.
Okay.
They come to town one by one during the last 13 nights before Yule. They leave small gifts and shoes that children have placed on windowsills, but if the child has been disobedient, they instead leave a rotten potato in the shoe.
I beg your pardon? A rotten potato?
Right?
All
Like,
right.
I would just rather just a normal potato, please.
Right. Jesus.
So these the folk tales first appeared around the 17th century and displayed some variation based on region and age. And in modern times, the characters have taken on slightly more benevolent roles. But the first mention of the Yule lads could be found in the 17th century poem of Grela. She appeared in older tales as a troll, but had not been linked to Christmas before. She was described as a hideous being who's the mother of the giant Yule lads, which is a menace to children.
I'm a menace. Anarchy! Anarchy! I don't know what it is, but I love it.
So early on, the number and depiction of the Yule lads varied greatly depending on location, and the King of Denmark objected to their use as a disciplinary tool.
Oh, okay. Great.
Right. In the late 18th century, a poem mentions 13 of them. In the mid-19th century, author John Arneson drew inspiration from the Brothers Grimm and began collecting folk tales. His 1862 collection is the first mention of the names of the Yule lads.
Oh, okay, cool.
So each Yule lad arrives individually and stays for a visit of 13 days, starting on the 12th of December. Once the first lad departs on Christmas Day, the rest follow suit each day through January 6th.
Okay.
So you have the sheepcoat clod, who harasses sheep but is impaired by his stiff peg legs.
What? His stiff. They're always after me like a You remember the robot chicken one with the. I'm sorry.
So then you have he arrives on the 12th and departs on the 25th. You have Gully Gawk, who hides in gullies, waiting for an opportunity to sneak into the cowshed and steal milk. He arrives on the 13th and departs on the 26th.
Ma'am.
Then you have Stubby, who is abnormally short. He steals pans for the food baked to the bottoms and brims. He arrives on the 14th and leaves on the 27th. Then you have Spoon Licker, who steals wooden spoons being used for cooking, extremely thin for malnutrition. He arrives on the 15th and leaves the 28th. You have Pot Scraper, who steals pots to scrape out the leftovers, who arrives on the 16th and leaves on the 29th. You have Bowl Licker, who hides under beds awaiting the wooden food bowls placed on the floor, who arrives the 17th and leaves the 30th. You have Door Slammer, who enjoys slamming doors, especially during the night, waking up the household, who arrives the 18th and leaves the 31st, which is really a dickhead move.
Seriously.
And then you have Sky Gobbler, who has an affinity for Scare, which is a regional style of yogurt. And he arrives the 19th and leaves the 1st of January. You have Sausage Swiper, who hides in the rafters and snatches sausages that are being smoked. He arrives the 20th of December and leaves the 2nd of January. You have Window Peeper, who is a snoop who looks through windows in search of things to steal, who arrives the 21st and leaves the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
You have Doorway Sniffer, who has an abnormally large nose and an acute sense of smell, which he uses to locate leaf bread, who arrives the 22nd and leaves the 4th. You good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I got 2 more. There's Meat Hook, who uses a hook to steal meat, who arrives the 23rd and leaves the 5th of January. And then you have Candle Beggar, who follows children to steal their precious candles, which are made of tallow and thus edible.
Oh my
And he arrives the 24th and leaves the 6th of January.
I'm sorry, guys. I had to mute myself. I started having a coughing fit, and I was laughing so hard I was snorting. That's
I had to purposely not look at you on camera.
Look at me on camera.
I was gonna lose it.
Dear gods. I am so
prior
sorry.
to the popularization of the 13 Yule lads, regional lore offered variations of their myths. Some were said to be son of Grula, others were to be her brothers.
Mm-hmm.
While each of them is still associated with a characteristic prank, some stories describe only 9 Yule lads.
Oh.
Most of the obscure lads fall into 3 groups: those who steal food, those who like to play tricks or harass, and those who seem to be a delusion from nature. For example, Gullygawk, who just hides in gullies.
Right.
A folktale particular to eastern Iceland describes the Yule lads originating from the ocean rather than the mountains. And one rare nursery rhyme mentions 2 female Yule pranksters who steal melted fat by stuffing it up their noses or putting it in socks.
What the fuck? Okay.
I mean, I guess there's putting it up their noses is like the least concerning spots they could have stuffed it.
Right. I mean, like, penny for your thoughts, but keep it to yourself.
But yeah, that's Yule Cat and Yule lads. And the last thing I have is Mary Lwyd.
Mary Lwyd.
Do you know what Mary Lwyd is?
No.
Are you going to?
I am. You're going to tell me all about it.
So it's a wassailing folk custom in South Wales. The tradition entails the use of an eponymous hobby horse. You know what that is?
Yes, I know what a hobby horse is.
Okay. Which is a horse skull mounted on a pole and is carried around by a person hidden underneath a sheet. It's an actual skull.
Oh,
horse skull.
Cool. Metal.
Yeah.
All right.
Although the custom was given various names, it was best known as the Mary Lwyd. Although the etymology of this term remains the subject of academic debate.
Yeah.
The folklorist Irwith C. Pete believed that the term meant Holy Mary and was thus a reference to Mary, Mother of Jesus, because of course it has to be.
Of course.
While folklorist E. C. Colt thought it was more likely the term had originally meant gray mare, which makes more sense.
Yeah.
Referring to the head's equine appearance. Especially because they kind of go around like throughout the day and into the night.
Yeah.
Several earlier folklorists examined the topic, such as Pete and Ellen Ittlinger, and believed that the tradition had once been a pre-Christian religious rite, though scholarly support for this interpretation has declined amid a lack of supporting evidence. And in my notes, I have, because it was fucking oral history and not written down.
Right. It's completely different.
So the Mary Lwyd consists of a horse's skull, including jaw.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, because it opens its mouth and it talks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that it's decorated with ribbons and affixed to a pole to the back of the skull is attached a white sheet which drapes down to conceal both the pole and the individual carrying the device.
Mm-hmm.
On occasion, the horse's head was represented not by a skull, but was instead made from wood or even paper. In some instances, the horse's jaw was able to open and close as a result of string or lever attached to it, and there are accounts of pieces of glass being affixed into the eye sockets of some examples, obviously representing eyes.
Right.
An observer of the tradition, as it was performed at Langnalud, during the 19th century noted that the preparation for the activity was a communal event with many locals involving themselves in decorating the Merry Lude.
Hmm.
So the custom was performed during winter festivities, specifically around the dates of Christmas and New Year. However, the precise date on which the custom was performed varied between villages, and in a number of cases, the custom was carried out for several consecutive nights.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it was a unique example. There was a unique example provided by an account from Gower in which the head was kept buried throughout the year only to be dug up for use during the Christmas season.
What? I'm good.
So the custom begins at dusk and often lasts late into the night. So it would make sense it'd be gray then if it's at night.
Right. Yeah.
The party consists of 4 to 7 men who often had colored ribbons and rosettes attached to their clothes and sometimes wore a broad sash around the waist. There was usually a smartly dressed leader who carried a staff, stick, or whip, and sometimes other stock characters, such as Merryman, who played music, and Punch and Judy, both played by men,
Punch and Judy!
um, with blackened faces, often brightly
Ooh.
dressed.
Ooh.
They don't do that anymore.
Right. The Punch and Judy I remember is from the puppets.
Yes.
But they were white. They were
Yes.
black-faced. Oh.
I probably blackened faces as in like painted.
Okay. All right.
Punch carrying a long metal fire iron and Judy carrying a besom or a broom. For those that don't know, Punch and Judy was a traditional puppet show of a husband and wife. Performance consisted a sequence of short scenes, each depicting an interaction between two characters who end up falling into some sort of violent exchange of beating each other with sticks.
Like you do.
Yeah. So the Merry Lude party would approach a house and sing a song in which they requested admittance. The inhabitants of the house would then offer excuses for why the party could not enter. The party would then sing a second verse, and the debate between the two sides, known as punko, which is a form of musical battle similar to fly hitting, or kind of like a rap battle,
Okay.
would continue until the house's inhabitants ran out of ideas, at which time they obliged to allow the party to enter and provide them with food and ale. An account from Namtargra described such a performance in which the Punch and Judy characters would cause a noise with Punch tapping the ground to the rhythm of the music and rapping on the door with the poker, while Judy brushed the ground, house walls, and windows with the broom.
Okay.
The householders, or the people in the house, had to make Punch promise that he would not touch their fireplace before he entered the building. Otherwise, it was the local custom that before he left, he would rake out the fire with his poker. He would put it out.
Okay.
In the case from Langelud, however, there was no interplay between householders and the party, but rather the latter were typically granted entry automatically after singing the first verse of their song. Like it varies from village to village.
Right.
Once inside the house, the entertainment continued with the Merry Lude running around, neighing and snapping his jaws, creating havoc, frightening children, or perhaps even adults, while the leader pretended to try to restrain it.
Oh.
The Merry Man played music and entertained the householders. The folklorist Pete believed that in recorded examples from Glamorgan, it was apparent that the Merry Lude custom had become indistinguishable from the practice of wassailing, although added that there was still some examples of wassailing that did not involve the Merry Lude.
Mm-hmm.
He also added that links between the two were also apparent from recorded examples in other parts of Wales, thus opinionating that Merry Lude represented a variation of the wider wassailing custom as found throughout Britain.
This is super informative.
Yeah. So a suggestion is that Merry Lude uh, derived from the English term merry lude, referring to a merry game. Folklorist Pete opposed this idea, arguing that if the latter was converted into Welsh, then the result would be merry lut or merry lead. He was dismissed. He also dismissed the idea that it had been suggested to him that the term merry in the context had derived from Morris, a reference to Morris dance.
Oh.
Another reason to doubt this idea is that it's unknown historical link between Merry Lude, which is found in South Wales, and the Morris dance, which was concentrated in the north of the country. But I mean, people traveled.
Right. People traveled. Things happened.
Right. The earliest published account of the Merry Lude appeared in 1800 in J. Evans' A Tour Through Part of North Wales in the year 1798, and at other times. Although the book itself focused on North Wales, the chapter in which the passage was included discussed the language and customs of Wales more generally.
Okay.
He related that a man on New Year's Day dressed himself in blankets and other trappings with a factitious head like a horse, and a party attending him, knocking for admittance. This obtained, he runs about the room with an uncommon frightful noise, which the company quit in real or pretended fright, and they soon recovered, and by reciting a verse of Coid, or in default, paying a small gratuity, they gained admission.
All right.
So he wrote about it again in his 1804 works, Letters Written During a Tour Through South Wales in the year 1803, where he provided a clear discussion, making it apparent that teams accompanied a man dressed as a horse or a bull toured the local area from Christmas until after 12th Day, and that they were given food or money to leave householders alone.
It's kind of like the whole trick-or-treating thing all over again.
Right.
Yeah.
However, it's some of the lyrics they have to come up with, though, is hilarious. Because you have to, like, be spot on when replying back. Like, like they say a line, you have to say a line right back.
Right.
Like, you can't,
Stop.
stumble or anything, because otherwise you're like, oh, well, I gained a minute because you couldn't come up with a good enough reason.
Right.
So it continued off and on throughout, the 18th and 1900s. In the 20th century revival, a 1935 article, Folklorist Pete stated that the tradition is still met with and is practiced in the Cardiff district, Brigand, Langalud, Neath, and other Glamorgan districts. He highlighted an example from Christmas Eve, 1934, in which it was observed performing alongside at least 12 singers in a chemist shop in Mumbles, Swansea. Another folklorist subsequently expressed the view that Dr. Pete deserves the sincerest gratitude of all folklore students for having so valiantly penetrated the mystery surrounding Merry Lude.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I got for
I mean,
Yule. And
Christmas is a big celebration with most people.
Right.
So, I mean, we put up our tree the day after Thanksgiving. It's always been like that for me anyways.
Oh yeah.
My mom puts hers up before Thanksgiving. And it's, I mean, my dad has a hard time walking, so I understand why she does it then, because it's
Right.
It's when my brother and the kids can, help. But
Right.
it's funny because we've always done it like that, and it's always just kind of been a thing that, Josh was like, we are not putting up the tree before. And I was like, why? why?
I mean, the day after Thanksgiving, but
Right. And I was just like, I don't understand. And like now I do, because it's like, you know, people celebrate differently.
right.
Um I always
One holiday at a time.
right. I always drink eggnog when I'm decorating the
Hmm.
tree.
Of course.
And I watch like one Christmas movie. So like the first one I normally put on is Nutcracker.
Okay.
And then the next Christmas movie I watch is Elf.
Hmm.
Um and then December 1st I watch Die Hard
Of course.
every year. It's a thing. I have to do it.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
Um but what do you do that's like an automatic that you do every year?
Mm. Try not to kill myself getting getting the decorations out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so the last few years, I've been having to decorate the tree, pull out mom's nativity set, or last 2 years it was put out Mimi's nativity set
Hmm.
because mom was in storage. Um, the trees were pre-lit, so I didn't have to do that, thankfully.
Thank goodness for that.
But like we would just put up the nativity, put up the tree, decorate it,
Hmm.
um, hang up any of the holiday cards that had come in yet. Um, and that's about it. Because before this, it was mom was keeping Mimi busy while
Hmm.
I did everything. So
Yeah, and
this year
now
be a little different.
yeah, now this year it's going to be a little bit different for you because
Yeah.
I know
Um, I honestly don't remember if I even decorated last year.
you didn't.
I didn't think so.
No, it was after the wedding. You had gone home and you were upset and you were like, I don't want to decorate. And I said, so don't. And I remember your mom
Yeah,
being
because
so mad because you didn't decorate. And I was like,
oh yeah,
sometimes you just
because she
can't.
wasn't going to be here anyways. So I was
Right.
like,
Why are you going
it's
to
just me.
decorate? Right. And I was just like, don't decorate for Christmas, you know?
Because I had to work anyway. So I was like, what's the point?
And I was like, well, decorate enough for the both of us. And we put the inflatables
Right.
out. And he climbed. I swear to God, I almost had a heart attack that day. Josh climbed on the fucking roof, and he wanted
He
to
was
scare
putting
the.
all the lights on.
He did. He put all the lights up, and he wanted to scare the shit out of me. So he kind of like not slid, but he made that noise, and I was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
fine."
god.
But like, my husband likes to scare me, which is fine. We both like horror movies. It's okay.
But
I'm
not when it's a
fine.
roof involved.
Not when there is a roof involved. My good bitch.
Because you
Um.
waited to decorate until after you got to the house. So, like, it's like, I still don't know my way around this place, and I have to take you to the hospital, and that's not fun.
Well, and Sam visited me last year, which I absolutely
Yeah.
loved. She's getting you already know her Christmas stocking. After we're
Yes.
done with this, I'm gonna go eat, and then
Mhm.
I'm working on Christmas stockings for my family. My mom
Yes.
purchased these stockings 15 years ago. And
Oh,
she had the audacity to tell me, "Oh, so you're almost done with them?" I was like, "Excuse me, I've kicked ass.
right.
I
The
have
fact you got them like back in like August, and you're on the last one now.
No, I'm on the second to last one. I'm on Kylene. So I've
Ah.
done Kara and Cody's, which are over
Mhm.
here. So Cody has a teddy bear, Kara has a sugar plum fairy. And it's one of those ones where I'm just sitting there going, my poor hands,
Right.
because I have neuropathy. And so, like, I will never change this for the amount of nothing out in the world, because as much as my neuropathy hurts, I know for a fact they're going to love these stockings.
Oh yes, 100%.
But I also know I have downloaded all of the 47 books for my Kindle Unlimited onto my Kindle, because when we're driving there, I can't sew.
Right.
I mean, I can hand sew as long as it's the quilt, which I'm prepping to take with us so we can sleep with it.
Right.
Um,
But
I have
that's
to,
different.
that's different. I have to lay it out and roll it up and do all that stuff. But I love Christmas. I love everything that it kind of stands for, as it
Right.
were. Like the goodness in people and the fact that it's one of those times out of the year where you give things because you want to,
Right.
not because you're obligated to. And I mean, you're getting something very small because your gift for your birthday about killed me. I made her a one of a kind custom bag.
And I love it.
It's got industrial zippers on it, which broke my machine, but it's fine. I now know why my machine didn't work. And it's because of that. But it's okay. I have a new machine now, which I love absolutely dearly.
Yes.
Um, I loved today.
Good. I'm glad.
I love Christmas.
It was a lot of work.
It was such a lot of work. We both did a lot of research for today.
Yes.
And, we wanted the others to come, but, there's a bunch of stuff that they got on their plates. And, we love them dearly. And, you know, we know that you guys love us. And so we're not going to force them to come on when they don't
Right.
even have the spoons for themselves. So, do you have any advice for the holidays for anybody?
Aside from kind of what we talked about the other day, that if I guess maybe it was earlier this
Yeah,
episode. I don't
yeah.
remember.
It was earlier today.
If your family does not grant
Support.
you peace, don't bother with them.
Nope.
Family is who you want it to be,
Right.
and what who you include it. It does not have to be blood. It does not have to be DNA.
Right.
And I will stand firm on that.
I am very grateful to have you, Em, and Meg as sisters.
Of course.
Because, I mean, like, it's. We don't have to mince words. And, like, when we're upset at something, we can tell each other the honest truth. And we'll be like, yeah, totally get it. Take your time.
Right.
And I mean, when it comes to family versus chosen family, my family denounced me. Is that a word?
It is a word.
So they no longer wanted to associate with me when I came out, which is fine. That's okay. It took them a while to come around. That's fine. Thank God for therapy and family communication. Everybody
Yes.
except for my aunt and uncle, my cousin. And then I found out something shocking the other day. Time in. That was not a fun conversation to have with my mother, but besides the point. It's if your sobriety or your peace is at all disturbed over this holiday season, as our lovely squad here has said, be his panic, not his peace.
Yes.
Because it's enough that you're going out of your way to go visit family, that you're doing everything that you need to do for yourself. If it's more than what you can handle, don't do it.
Exactly.
And as Rachel said, just be mindful of yourself,
Oh yes, definitely.
And
your mental health is more important.
Right. If you guys need help as far as sobriety goes and you want to like drop some like numbers in the Facebook group of like, because there's Zoom meetings, and depending on what state you're in, I can find you an AA or an NA support group. I will get you help, whatever you guys need.
Exactly. We are here for you.
But as always, stay feral.
Bite the hand, guys.
And we'll see y'all next time.
Okay, bye.
Ho, ho, ho.
Merry Crisis.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Crisis.
Merry Crisis.
Tis the season.
And happy holidays.